Hello and welcome back to Railroads Online. We are back here on the Crystal Lake Railroad, and in this episode, because we are kind of running out of things to do on the line that we've already got built here, we're going to go ahead and start working on another gravity line. If you remember my previous episode, we took a cattle train down this line here from the cattle station down to the Red Mountain Depot. And today we're going to be continuing that little trend by figuring out where we can put a or figuring out how we can run a gravity line down from this first switch here before we get to the switchbacks proper, uh, down to the meatpacking plant. And I think what I could probably do is figure out some way of putting another switch here so that I can go ahead and just bring it down the hill in a kind of a more gentle arc so that it will kind of follow the pre-existing line down to the yard, and we can just terminate in the yard. So if that works out, this should be a fairly short build, and then we'll figure out how to get another gravity line run from this area here down to this switch so that we can take it around and run it on this portion of the switchback line and down over to the main line where we're going to put in another switch. I think we're going to put in a switch right in this area next to this switch here, or maybe a little bit past it, so that it will switch onto this outer line, which will in the short run save us a little bit of work uh, trying to figure out where to put a new yard. So with that, I'm going to go up here to the top station. And before I started recording, I went ahead and I unloaded the cattle train and moved it over to this yard. So that's why it's sitting here now. So let's go ahead and take a look at what I was just talking about. So in practice, if we were to have a second yard here, which we can split off somewhere in this area, probably over in this valley, we could have it set up in such a way as we could come down one of these two lines here. Say if we put it in this little valley that's starting to get dark, so we can't really see much. But if we were to put it off into that valley, we could have it come down through the rail yard on this line here and come down, or we could have it come off from the main staging yard down that line. And it's only going to be about a minute or two here, but while it's dark, so I'll go ahead and cut that out. And I will get back to you when it gets light, but I'm going to go ahead and travel over to the end of this switch. Okay, so it's starting to get a little bit lighter out, and I'm down here at the end of this first line stop here at this first switchback at the top of the hill, and you can kind of see that we've got a pretty good run down. I mean, just almost straight down the hill um, to where I was wanting to connect it in over here. Now, typically, we wouldn't be able to really we wouldn't be able to run a locomotive up that because the grade would just be too steep. But I think we can make it work if we put in a switch with at this rail end here Just an immediate dead switch, or one side would be dead, the other side would go down the hill. If we did that, we could theoretically make this work. So I think the best place to put the switch in would be probably right here at this straightaway, where it starts to mesh into the ground a little bit better. So we're going to go ahead and delete that portion of the line, and I'm going to see. We want a left switch. I think we're going to do a left hand. Yeah, we're going to do a left hand throw. So I'm going to put the switch. I'm going to switch to my other node here, and we're going to put the switch right here. So typically, and that doesn't look too bad. Typically, I'm going to put that bit of rail back in there so it actually works. The locomotive or the rolling stock would not quite make it to this rail stop, or this bumper stop up here, regardless of how really long the train is. If we're going 6 or 7, maybe 8 cars, and I will be extending the bumper stop out, the one bumper stop that limits my size out a little bit, off screen. Helps if I hit the right key. Typically it won't meet this bumper stop very easily. So we're just gonna start off with a fairly, it's not the shallowest curve, but it'll work for what we're doing. So we're gonna see how soon we mesh up with the ground here. Okay, we don't, so that's fine. We'll actually go ahead, see if nope, I can't really increase it out. So we're gonna go right about there, and that will get us started down the hill. Now when I get this built, I'll come back and I'll get rid of all the trees that I run through, and I'll put in the signage and all this good stuff. But for right now, I think that'll be okay. Let's see what we can do. Let's run a straight, and we're at a 4% grade, so that's going to climb fairly quick. But we're actually going to increase that really substantially right here. So we're at 10%, so we can't do that piece. Let's go down here to our bridge and grab our wooden trestle. And actually, I'm going to get rid of this. The one thing I don't like about the fly mode is that you have to be virtually right on top of something in order for it to delete the portion of the line that you're working with. Okay, so I'm actually going to level that off just a touch so that we're not totally buried here. We don't need a derailment by any manner of means. And I'm going to go ahead and really put that grade in. And you can see we make a fairly substantial drop in elevation right off the bat. And we're going to get too high here in a minute for this. Yeah, see, we got to make a bit more elevation change. Otherwise, we are never going to reach. And you can see we've made quite the hill there. And that's at 10%, which if we're not matching up down there, we've got a long way to go yet. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to curve around. Whoops, if I go the right direction. We're going to curve around toward the switchback. So it's going to seem like we're kind of going a little bit. We're kind of spitting against the wind here a little bit, but really that's not too unreasonable, because we can actually get a lot of height. We can chop off a lot of height by going back and forth like we do with the switchbacks. The only difference is that this is going quite a bit further because of the dramatic shift in the actual slope, whereas the switchbacks were maximum of 2.5%. This is all the way down to 10, or this is all the way up to 10%, which, like I said in my last video, is absolutely impossible for a locomotive to climb. So what I'm doing now is I'm trying to match this up, and we're going to try and go in over here, and we're going to run alongside to a point where we can put in that three-way switch. So we've actually made quite a bit of height already, and this to me looks a whole lot better than the one for the cattle line. The cattle line was just a prototype in that respect. So we're going to come back around here. We're going to try and match this up here so that it actually, we're back up to 4%, back down to 4%. So we're going to come down here, and this will still give us quite a bit of it'll still give us quite a bit of speed when we go to just coast along this line, because we're not actually that far away from where we need to be. And actually, I do need to redo that. So we're going to leave that right where it's at for now. We're going to go ahead and put in our three-way here. There we go. The flight controls in this thing are really janky. Okay, so we're going to go in with our three-way. I think we're going to do a three-way with the left hand, and we're going to connect it like that. So it should have, well, it didn't connect, but that's okay. We can make that work. Okay, so we just had to do away with a lot of stuff here. I'm going to get rid of that rock. Let's see. There we go. Okay. So we're going to go back in. We're going to put that line back in, and we're going to work from there. So let's go ahead and get our radius put back in, bring it around so that we're not buried in the hill. Okay. Get the, yeah, there we go. Yep, okay. So we're going to have to come to right about here. And we're going to have to tighten it up a bit. Yeah, right about there's all right. Let's leave it at 0.5%. Let's go here. And we're going to open this back up so that we can actually get down here. That's a 2.5% grade right there. So that's still going to give us plenty of speed on this hill. That shouldn't be too much of an issue. It looks like it's, yeah, that's all right. Okay, so we've got our three-way switch in. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to run a parallel line to the switchback. And we're going to connect up the gravity line coming from down, or from the top of the hill to the base. Okay, why are we... Oh, I see what's going on here. Okay, so we actually need our medium ballast, which is 5 meter deep. There we go. We're gonna go there. Now see what I do when I build these is I try to get them matched up as well as possible. So that is to say they're not so severely close to one another that they would interfere. So with this one, I want to end off right where it would meet up with the bridge, and I want to go ahead and or the trestle, and I want to put a trestle in to meet up with the remaining portion of the gravity line, just like that. Now that's almost level. However, because we had to come up so high in elevation so quickly over here, our downslope is actually around 3.5%. I didn't really look at it. You guys will be able to look back through there and see it. But now we have our three-way switch and our gravity line coming down from the top station. So if we were stupid about this, we could send locomotives down here, but it would not be a particularly good idea. It would be entertaining, but it wouldn't be a good idea. So let's go ahead. I think that'll be okay. I think that one little area right there will be okay. I think I'm going to go ahead and redo it though. So let's go ahead and let's come around here. Let's do 4, 5. Yeah, that'll be all right. Yeah, that's a little better. And we can bring it around here. We can level off the grade a little bit and plug it in. Ta-da. I mean, these gravity lines don't necessarily have to be a continuous grade. They could just be, you know, whatever you can get in a specific area. Okay, so yeah, get ahead of myself. You know, I say I've got a problem stuttering in my post processing of these videos, and you can kind of start to see why it's so difficult for me to talk normal. Because I get ahead of myself. But you know, like I said, they don't have to necessarily be specific grade. Or specific grades the whole way down. It can be a variation so long as it's smooth enough, or the train would be going slow enough at a particular point where it's not going to just fly off the rails. But that is, you know, it's something that can be managed. Okay, so I was thinking about this the other day, in between my last videos filming and this one, and I think what I would like to do would be to take from this rail end right here. It would mean having to figure a way to swing it around this hill. What I want to do is take it from there up to the top of the hill. But another way to do that would actually be to bring another switch over in here and bring it out and around and bring it straight down and run parallel for a short ways to here, where we can put another switch in, probably, and we could probably put a three-way in right here. We'd have to do a little bit of doctoring to this to this line to get it to match up a little bit, but that's not too big of a problem. That's not too big of an issue. So why don't we go ahead and try that? I'm going to start up here, and we will see where exactly I need to put the switch in. Now, when I was building this, when I was building the switchbacks initially, and I think you guys saw it in the first build video that I did. This area right here is a little bit messed up because I was trying many different things, many different ways to get it connected up. So we're actually going to take quite a bit of that out. We're going to redo that in a minute. But right now I want to put another switch in right here, and we're going to go in with a left-hand switch with a right-hand throw, I believe that is. And we're going to put it in right here. I'm going to bring it over to this node here. I'm going to put it in right there. Yep, see, that didn't work. Okay, that's my stupid. Come on. Thank you. So we want a right-hand switch with a right-hand throw. That's what we want right there. All right, so let's go ahead and reconnect this switch back. Otherwise, we're not going to make any progress up the hill. So I need to... Yikes. No wonder the locomotives have a hard time. Okay, let's see. It's an awful tight radius right there. But I guess we don't... Somehow I don't think that switch is going to work right there. And what we could do, and this is part of why I've said a 500,000 times I don't like filming these, is because I just can't get enough done in a short enough amount of time because it's a massive thought process. Let's try and put the switch in here. So we're actually going to need a left-hand throw for this one, because we don't necessarily want it burying itself in the ground. And it's pretty close to doing that anyway, but we're okay, I think, for now. So let's see if we can't reconnect this or get it swung around to where we, to where we can. Okay, yeah. Put in a, shoot. Yeah, we can get there. Let's go up another 0.5%. Bring it right to there. Yeah, we're gonna have to redo this down to that, will you? There. Let's just do all. We're gonna have to redo, clear down to that switch. Now, when I built this, I hadn't initially thought that the gravity line. I hadn't even, dang it, I hadn't even thought of the gravity line at that point. I hadn't thought that, you know, that might be a possibility. But at this point in time, that's kind of irrelevant, because there's always the option to redesign. And, you know, like I said, I think in one of my previous episodes, I don't know whether I cut it out or not. Maybe you guys know better than I do. Like any good model railroad, a true model railroad is never really complete. So, yep, right there. All right. So that's a little bit of a dog leg there, but that'll be all right. That doesn't look too terrible. So we're going to go ahead and put this back in. We're going to try to make this look a little bit better by not really not really giving it too much of a grade. See, the thing that I didn't like about this one spot here was that it basically, in order to get over here, I had to climb this massive hill that, regardless of what locomotive I had, it would have to it would almost slow down to a crawl to get over this hill if I wasn't already moving at a pretty decent clip. Let's go ahead and put that. Yeah, that looks a little bit better right there. So let's go ahead and continue on. Oh, we're going to go that way. We'll take it down. Let's see if we can't connect it. 1.5%. Okay, we're not going to be able to connect with this. I know that. I can see that. So let's go ahead and go in with our trestle. And, whoops. And bring it around. And we'll put the exact opposite in since we're going the other direction. And we can actually lower that down just a tiny bit. And ta-da. Just like that. That's back in. It's better than it was before. And it actually doesn't look too bad. So let's go ahead and bring this piece around this hill and send it on down the way. Okay, so actually do need to go up a tiny bit before we do that. I'm going to bring around at the 60-meter radius. Yeah, that'll be okay. And we're going to start to level. Well, we're just going to go ahead and level off right here. Dang it. That's okay. It's not that big a deal. Let's see. Actually, it is kind of that big a deal. Because I actually do, despite the fact that I don't want to, I need to start going downhill. So let's get this straight put in right here. Yeah, that's okay. Now we are going to come out over this area a little bit, but we're going to put in trestle for that. That's not a problem. And I'm going to go ahead and start with my downhill slope. Oops, we don't want that. We want about 70. Let's do 80. We're not going to get very far without going very quickly downhill. And it looks like our sun's starting to set here, or the sun's starting to come out, one of the two. So we're going to go, yeah, we're going to do 70 right to about there. Yeah, sun's coming out. And then we're going to go ahead and go back in with our trestle. And we're going to try and stick to our grade here. Yeah. We're going to get as much out of this as we can. So there's 10%. We're going to come around. Ooh, okay. So let's see. May have to increase our radius just a touch. That's too much. So let's do this. 6.5%. Let's just do 6, make it even. And then we'll keep coming around. This is about as tight as I want this to get for the time being. Specifically because we are going to be going so far downhill so quickly. I want to keep a decent rate of descent, as well as a shallow enough grade that these trains can handle it. . And we're going to go to right there. Now, we're not going to go back in with ballasted track because we're actually going to have to come back around and we're going to be going back down the opposite. We're going to be making a left-hand turn rather than a right-hand turn. And we're still going to be going downhill. I just need to get it set up in such a way as to, like that, I need to get it set up in such a way as that I am not cutting through the terrain. And we can start down with our 10% immediately on that. And the 10% that I'm doing right now is just to see, where I'll end up. And it looks like I'm going to end up in the ground right there. So we're going to bring it up to about 6. And we're going to bring it right about there. And I suppose what I could do, since I'm already down over here anyway, is I could take it underneath the trestle for the switchbacks. Looks like we're already too low. Yeah, looks like we're a bit too low already, but that's okay. It's okay. This is all part of the planning. Let's go ahead and take this out. Now what I was going to say is I could probably take it underneath the switchbacks, but I really don't want to do that. It's kind of a pain in the backside to do that. That said, and I think would probably be easier to do, can you please delete what I click on? Thank you. Yeesh. Okay. I think what would probably be easier as the sun's going down is to come around and actually go over those switchbacks. At a point over there, which would probably be a little bit better of a plan. So we're actually going to follow this ridge down, and instead of connecting in like I thought of before, we're actually going to come down here and we're going to try and connect in maybe at some point along this final switchback so that we actually have full access. We may even run, as it gets too dark to see what I'm talking about, we may even run a parallel line right here so that we have the switchback, or not the switchback, the gravity line just kind of easing off right along the side of the main line here. So we'll get that taken care of when it gets light enough to see out. Till then, I'm going to go ahead and cut and travel back over to where I need to be because I can't see anything. Okay, so since it's a little bit lighter out, what I'm going to do is I'm going to follow this ridge that we followed with the switchbacks. We're actually going to follow it with a much steeper grade. And I just had the wooden trestle, but I was contemplating for just a moment swapping over to the wall, and we'll do that here in a minute. But I actually want to put the grade in first, get it started. Let's see if that'll work. Yeah, that'll be all right. And we'll swap over when we get to the point of being able to. So, which should be here fairly shortly. Oops. Dang it. Okay, let's try that again. So I think that was actually... There we go. I think that was actually too sharp of a curve. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to get our trestle. We're just going to go down. Down. We're going to bring it around. I think probably 120. No. Start with 60, and we'll straighten back out, of course, but we'll start with the 60 radius. And come around here. Okay. That should do it. Now let's go ahead and bring our wall back in. And we're going to go ahead and start going back the other direction. About 8%. That's a respectable grade. Yikes. Okay. Let's see. I think we're too far over, so we're going to have to do this again. I think 120 was right. Let's come back in here. Let's put our 8% back in. Down to 120. Let's see where that leaves us. Okay, let's extend that out just a touch. Yeah, that looks good. And we'll just do 10%. So you can see you really lose a lot of elevation very quickly with the steeper gradient. So we're going to go back in, we're going to grab our wall, and we're going to keep on going. I'll put in our 10% again, and bring it around so that we're not burying the track, which should put us right about 100, 120. A little bit tighter than that. But we can level off. Let's do about 7. Let's do 5. That'll give us a little bit of wiggle room to come around here. And let's see if that's going to cause an issue with the line. And it will not. Or at least it shouldn't. We'll test it. We'll test it for sure. Okay. So I think since we've got that bit right there, we can actually come down a little bit further, and we're going to try and catch that outcropping right over there and build a bridge over the line. So let's go back in here with our trestle, and we're going to see where we catch that outcrop. And it looks like we're going to catch it, but not where I'd wanted to catch it. So we're going to actually level off here. We're going to keep a slight grade. We may actually need to go in and level off a little bit further. So we got a 70%. Yeah, let's go ahead and just keep our track from getting too swirly here. Ah, dang it. I have to redo this here so that I think I'm going to have to redo that. So let's see. Yeah, this is the process that I am not too particularly fond of. So we're gonna redo that. We're actually gonna level that off. We're actually gonna leave it level. And we're just going to straighten it out to right about there. That'll work. But that's interesting. Let's level off about there. We're actually going to bring it out just a touch. Yeah. 120, 130. That'll be all right. Then we're going to continue leveling off for a little bit. See, unlike the cattle line, we don't have a hill that we've actually got to contend with. I don't need to hit that outcropping, but it would be a lot easier to put a bridge abutment in so that we can do a straight girder bridge over top, and one of these guys down here, this truss bridges here, and cross over that line. So we're actually going to bring back our grade. It would help if it would stabilize when I want it to stabilize. Okay, so let's see where we can end up here, because we actually can't follow this directly. But what I can do is tighten it up as I go. So 60 is our minimum here. So we're going to go to 80. Let's try 70. Let's bring it right to here. And 60 is not going to get us, so we need to level off. Okay. Oops. So let's go with... I don't know why my voice is being so weird today. Maybe all the dust I was breathing in while I was helping my mother clean up some of the junk we've got around this house. Let's do 4, 10. Let's do 120, just to round it off. Okay. And we'll actually bring it in. We'll tighten up this radius as we go. About there. Nope. Dang it. Yeah, see, this is please move forward. This is the what the heck is that? Did I actually put that in? Yes, I did. Okay. That's weird. I don't see that. There's just random thing pop up. I tell you, that's what caused it right there. That tool. That's what caused that. I do not like that tool. It does some weird things, man. Okay, let's try this again. 4%. We want 80. We're going to go right to about there. We're going to bring it around. Let's tighten it up to 60. Level it off a little. And it looks like we're still going to clip that. Looks like we're still going to clip that. We may have to check our brakes for this curve here. Yep. Oh, dang it. I keep doing that. I don't mean to do it, but... Let's see. What can we do here? Might have to... I might have to cut into this a little bit more than I want to. So let's see what we can do. That's 60, 70, 80. Let's do 70. It cuts into it a little bit more than I want, but as long as we can get our grade in and we can still keep going down, we can tighten it up. We'll have to do a tighter radius here. And it looks like that's actually going to be too much. Huh. Yeah. Hmm. Dang it. Okay, so this isn't going to work. Good thing I didn't cut much out of here. So that's not going to work. It's just not going to do what I want it to do. So we're back over here. Left, trying to figure out what we want to do. Because we don't have the radius, no matter what we do, to connect up down there. We don't have the radius. We don't have the degree of slope. So we're gonna have to take a little bit longer of a run. Now, I've looked a couple of times over here, which is why I was wanting to connect it into that end there and run it around. We just don't have a good place over here to connect it in until we're almost all the way down. Now, that would put it at such a shallow angle that it really wouldn't do any good to run it. It would basically be just swapping it in, or not swapping it in, but switching it in, and you basically have just another a shortcut line to get up to the top of the hill, because there wouldn't be enough of a slope for anything to get moving downhill with any degree of speed. So we're going to come back over here and try this again. We're going to try something a little bit different. I do still want to keep my grade in. We're going to stick with 4% this time. And we're going to come around here. Let's do 60. Let's do 5%. Let's go there. 60 is over here would be our minimum for most of this. So we're going to go to right here. That'll be fine. That all works perfectly. So let's see what we can do about hitting that other hilltop over there. Let's see if we can't get level with it. So let's do 6%. And we buried ourselves, so let's stay with 5. All right, so let's come back over here a little bit, and we're good there. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and run that again because we're actually on the ground right here for a short, well, let's just leave it. Let's just leave it. And we'll put in our 5% grade again. So it's down to 5. And we're going to see where we end up coming over here. See, we're too low, so we have to bring it in. Too low, we're too wide. So let's bring it in a little ways. Right now, I just want to see where it's going to end up. So right there. Let's come to about here. And we're going to run parallel with this. So we are at 3.5. We're actually going to bring that in a touch. And we're not going to try and match up with this outside line here. We actually don't care about this inside line. We're trying to match up with this lower line. So we're going to go to right here. Now we're going to start bringing it back around so that we don't bury ourselves. And we can actually run level here. And I'm going to extend that out, see where we're at. Oh, yeah. See, that's almost perfect. In fact, we could keep it at 1%. Extend it out a little ways to, well, let's just go right about there. And we can level it off. There we go. Level it off right there and bring it around. Straighten it up. There we go. Okay, so that part's done. Now we're going to go ahead and put the switch in down here. We want to stick with this switch, with the throw of that switch. So we're going to come back in here, and we're going to go down to our three-way with a left-hand switch. And we're going to move to our base node here. That did not do what I wanted it to do. Well, it did, but it didn't. So we're actually going to come in here, and we're going to delete that, delete that, delete that, delete quite a ways back here. And we're going to bring this outside, the far right, we're going to go ahead and connect that up to the lower switch, like that. And we're going to connect the center one up, like so. Actually going to extend that turn a little bit further. We're going to do that. Put our grade in, so you can already see we're making a little bit of progress here. Now we're going to go back in with our trestle and connect it up. Boom. Perfect-ish. And we're going to go in with our trestle again over here. And we're going to follow it along right about there. And I don't know what the grade is on this anymore. It's been so long since I built it, and I don't feel like going back and checking my video to see, what it is. So let's go right about there, and we'll bring it. Well, I can tell you right now that's not going to work. So we're going to go and cut that out. And we're actually going to start from this. Hello. We're going to start from this point over here and bring it up like we did when we built it. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to stick with a 1.5 right now. That should bring it just about level when we get there. Let's bring it down to 1. Yep, okay. So we're going to go ahead and connect it in, and we're going to follow just like this, we're going to follow the curvature of the higher line there, and we're going to bring it back. Really don't need to complete that curve, we can just do that. So just like that, it works. Now we're going to come from over here. We're going to put in a bit of ballasted track here, and we're just going to bring it over right about there. Take our gradient out so that we don't have an issue. And we're going to connect up our trestle. And we're not going to worry about putting a grade in. Whatever the grade is here, it's just, that's what it's going to be. Because it's actually probably going to be going uphill a little bit. In fact, it looks like it does. It looks like we were just a touch too low. But that's okay, because we've got a lot of speed built up from that downhill run. So, with that, we are going to come over here to this end here. Now we're going to run it down. We're gonna actually branch back off. I think, yeah. Yeah, we're actually going to branch back off of this. We're going to back this up a little bit, branch back off of it. We're going to run it down here. And I think we're going to try and run a parallel line in so that we could tie it into a switch here. So let's go ahead and get rid of this here and put in our switch. Oops. This is the switch we want, a left hand with a left hand. And we'll put it in right there. And that should connect up. Yikes. That is not connecting. Okay. Alright, so that's not going to work. So let's go ahead and put that piece of track back in. There we go. I thought that was straight. I guess not. Now looking at it now, it's definitely not. Okay, let's see. We brought it in there. Helps if I don't hit the trees, huh? We brought it in there. Let's see. What can we do? Got to get some elevation here to see where I'm going. If I bring it down, I'll still have to split off like I did up at the top. I'll still have to split off, but I could bring it down very abruptly and have it come into the main line and have it stop at a siding, or not really a siding, but a shoe fly at some point along that curve. So let's go ahead and try that. Let's come back down here, and where can we split this off safely? Let's try for right in here. We'll probably have to do a little bit of fancy footwork to get that in there, but let's see what we can do here. So we want a right hand switch with a right hand throw. Yeah, we'll have to work on that. Not too much actually, but it'll need something. So let's get rid of that. That's actually not too bad. I thought that was going to be a lot worse than it was. So let's bring this around. Let's see. Bring it around to about there. Call it good. We're going to go back in with our trestle and bring it around. Now I'm not going to bother trying to match up the radius there. We're just going to connect it in because it was already there to begin with. And it was on level ground, so that's all well and good. Now I'm going to cut this tree out right to begin with, because these smaller trees are really, they're sketchy. You can miss them in a heartbeat. So let's go ahead and get our, we're going to come in with a steep, almost immediately 10% grade right here. I say almost because we actually have to get rid of it to bring it down. And I think let's do 70. Yep, I think right about there is where we need to come back in with the trestle. And we're just going to come right straight down, or almost straight down, to the ground. So we want to lift that up a little bit, up a little bit, We want to get as close as we can without getting too terribly close. Okay, let's go ahead and do that right there. And you see how they can sneak up on you. Even that tiny little bit that sticks up is enough to derail a train, because these hitboxes don't care how big these trees are. All they care is that it's a tree. And if you've got a tree close enough to the line, it will derail the train. So we don't want that. At least I don't. So let's go ahead and get rid of that one. We're going to come back in here, I think, with our trestle for just a touch longer. How, dang it. How high are we above the line here? 0.5% grade. It brings it right level, so we can do that. We'll just bring it in. Oh, can we do that? Yes, we can. Fantastic. We'll do that. Bring it right to about there. And we'll go back in with ballasted track. I think the 1 meter will work. Yes. Beautiful. Okay. And it's getting a little bit dark out, so we may not be able to see much for very long. Much more for very long. Okay. Yeah, we're going to have to go ahead and cut right here to wait for the sun to come back up. So I will be right back. Okay, we're back. Right now I'm just taking a look at something here to make sure that we have enough clearance for some signage. We really don't, but we can take care of that. So what I'm going to do is come back over here with this. I'm going to take that out. We're going to redo that just a touch and bring it in. Or we're gonna tighten that radius up just a touch, and we're gonna try and get it to go down a little bit more. So we need to stay at a 1%. I want to go to right about there. So let's bring it back right about there. We're gonna have to bring that down. Actually, dang it. That's why I don't like that tool. It does some really weird stuff. It's like a copy paste tool, I think. So let's see. That's not going to do that. I keep doing that, man. I'm telling you, I'm not on it today. Let's go with the 5 meter ballast just to save a little bit of time here, because we actually do need to make that happen. So let's bring it in right about there. Looks okay. And we will go ahead and do that. And we're going to put a switch way on back here so that we can, and we're going to do a left hand with a left hand, so that we can actually have enough space to stop this train without interfering with the main line here, with this main line. So we've got that switch in. We're going to have to match up the heights of the rails, but we'll get to that point we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. So let's go ahead and connect everything up. Let's do 70. Yeah, that'll be all right. We'll come back and delete those trees later. Now, if you guys remember in the first 2 or 3 episodes, I actually had telegraph poles in here. Well, for the life of me, I couldn't get the telegraph poles to or the telegraph wires to not twist. So they ended up all getting deleted because they're just, they're just set decoration. I don't really need them for this game to function correctly. So yeah, they just went the way of the dodo, and that's why a lot of this area has been cleared out right next to the tracks anyway. Yeah, I think that will work right there. I'm just gonna clear off the tracks, or clear the trees away from the line a little bit further, and I think we'll go ahead and put in some signage. Let's get rid of that one. Yeah, if you're wanting to take those switchbacks down uphill, you definitely don't want to go down that little hill, do you? Okay, so let's go ahead and check along the line here, just to make sure that we don't have any trees or errant rocks inside the tracks like this one here. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that one. I don't know if the hitbox extends up that high, but I'm not about to take that chance. Get rid of the trees that are in these trestle here. Oh, this is going to be a fun one. All these trees I got to get rid of. It sucks too, because I like trees. Yep, there it is. I knew I saw one. Yeah, I live in Kansas, so trees come at a premium. I mean, we've got trees, but most of them were planted by farmers 150 years ago. Now I say I like trees, is it okay? I say I like trees. I like having them around, but I live on a property where we end up losing about 2 or 3 trees a year to the weather. They just fall. We came close this year to losing part of the house to one. But we've got it strapped up right now. We're just kind of, yeah, that works. Okay. We're just kind of trying to figure out how to get it cut down without it falling on the house. Because it's close enough to the house to be a problem, far enough away that you wouldn't think that it would be a problem. But it's not always the case with stuff like this. All right, so we have got our gravity line down to the bottom, and it's a 2-in-1. We got a 2 for today, because we've also got, while we've got the gravity line going all the way down to the bottom, we've even got it going to the meat packing plant. So that's a major achievement there. So that's fantastic. That's a major thing. That's something that we didn't have before. So I'm going to start laying signs down, and then I think, since we covered that so quickly, then it actually doesn't look too bad. I mean, it probably look better, but it doesn't look too bad. Yeah. I just got to make sure that's consistently switched in that direction. Otherwise, we're going to have big problems. Since that worked so well, and I'm only an hour 16 into what I thought was going to be a 4-hour recording just for that, we're going to come over here to the smelter and the iron mine, and we're going to see what it's going to take to get those set up. And yeah, I think that's going to be our episode. And when we get in our next episode, I think instead of well, we may do another build episode after this one, but it will be running a line, a gentle grade down from the iron mine around the back side of the lake. So the far side from the sawmill here. So we're on the opposite side of the lake. We're going to run a gentle run down the mountain across this little river and over to the coal mine, because the coal mine feeds the yeah, it feeds the, well, it doesn't feed either one of those. I'll shut up. Because the coal mine actually feeds the ironworks. Okay, that's what I wanted to say. I just didn't know what I was talking about. So the coal mine feeds the ironworks, but in order for it to run, ironically, it needs, what does it? It needs goods from the smelter. So we need to hook the iron mine up, which takes planks and beams from the sawmill, to the smelter, which takes cordwood and iron ore in order to make the goods for the coal mine. What was I saying? I had to sneeze. I'm sorry. I forgot what I was saying. Sneeze that thought right on out of my mind. Yeah. The smelter makes the goods out for the coal mine to function, and for the coal mine to function, and we need the coal mine to function not only so we can actually upgrade to stronger locomotives for this part of the line, but we also need the coal mine to work for the ironworks, which will give us the pipes for the refinery and for the oil field. It will also give us general goods to sell. Now these are probably going to be some of the higher dollar stuff that we're going to be selling at the depot. Now we're going to go ahead and put the signage in, and then we're going to go over here to the smelter first. So let's go ahead and start with the signage. And I'm going to put it, up here. So we're going to go over here to our props, and signs are right here at the top of the filters. So we don't even really need to select them particularly specifically. So I'm going to go down here to text sign and put in my text. All caps. Oops. I love being a writer. Sometimes I hit shift anyway when I've got the caps lock on. Yeah. I started to write writer. Oh my lord. Oh man. Okay. Let's see if we can do this correctly. I did it again. I did it again. Oh my god. Okay, so we've got that. Oh boy. You can't even really read it unless you're right on top of it. So let's leave it at this switch here. We're going to put it right about here. Oops. And we're going to go down here. And I'm not going to put a no locomotives past this point on this side. I'm going to put it back here a little ways, because this isn't so steep that a locomotive cannot get up it. Whoops. On its own. But if it's hauling a train, it will. So we're going to go back into signs. We're going to go to our custom sign. No locomotives. Right here. Whoops. I'm going to turn it around and place it right there. Now we're going to have to do that down here. We're going to have to do both that. We're going to have to do that this sign again and the gravity line sign down here as well. But this one we don't need a gravity line ahead sign, because as you're coming up the switchbacks, you're not going to be able to inadvertently switch onto it even if you wanted to. If you're coming out, you're going to be aware of which side you want to be on. So what we're going to do is we're going to place this one here to begin with. Now we're going to put it right here. Okay. So pretty obvious. We don't want locomotives on this side of the switch. But we're going to come back a little ways. We're going to bring up our custom sign again. And we're going to put in gravity line. Oops. One more time. Now we're going to turn it so that it faces more of the locomotive. And we're going to put it right there. Oops. Dang it. I got to remember, escape is not right click. So that should be, you know, when we go to open up, or when I go to open up this map to multiplayer once it's finished, that should be fairly obvious. Gravity line, and then further down, no locomotives. That should be fairly obvious as to which line I'm meaning is the gravity line, which line I am saying, you know, is not a good idea for locomotives to be on. Down here, we are going to put sign. We're gonna inundate this with signs because there's three tracks merging into one. And I'm going to switch that over real quick so that it's actually in the right orientation. Okay. Because we're still going to be using this as a switchback. I'm going to put a sign right here between these two throws. These two throw levers for the uphill line, and I'm going to put one back here for the downhill line. And the reason I'm doing that is because there is no room between these three tracks. So we're going to go ahead and go back here, grab our sign, and we're going to put in gravity line left. No, let's not. Let's just put in gravity line. It's not there. That's definitely not what I want to do. How did I get there? 10. There we go. And we're gonna try to put it right in between these two throws. So right here. Okay. And then we're going to come back here. And despite the fact, well, I think since it's right in between those two throws, we can go ahead and just assume that yeah, let's see that trying to figure out where to put these signs is not exact, and it's not always just cut and dry. So, um, and that's more legible. Okay. So we can assume, because it's after that throw, that it's for all three lines. Now we're going to put in another sign. It's going to, now typically the signs for the drivers of the locomotives are on the right hand side of the rail, but we don't have that option here. We are going to have to put in the sign on the left hand side, which if we were driving in the United States, that'd be fine. In other countries like the UK, that would be a little bit difficult to read. Oh, pardon me. Um, so we're gonna put in no, whoops, no motive. Remember how to spell. I'm a writer. I can't spell anything. Okay. Oh, that was stupid. No locomotive. Well, what if there's more than one locomotive, dude? Motives. No locomotives. As in two of them. More than one. Okay. Now, I'm going to come over here. Whoops. And we're going to put a sign back here. It says, watch for gravity trains. And we're going to put that, we're going to try and put that in between these two lines where it curves here. So let's go ahead and put a sign in. It says, watch for trains. Oops. Okay. We're going to put that right here. And we're going to assume that since that's the only place it could go, it's not exactly visible to both sides, but it will work for that line. Oops. And we don't have the option over here for this uphill line. That one's going to be something that, well, yeah. I'm just not sure I like how it's positioned there. So we're going to try that again. Get rid of it. Thank you. So we're going to put that one back in, but we're going to reposition it. So we're going to put it up here, right about here, like so. It's probably too close to the line on either side, but we can't really do anything about that. And we're going to come over here, and we're going to do the same thing. Now, that's kind of a, well, we're actually going to come back a little bit. That's kind of a redundancy right there. I know it'll be legible from the cab of a locomotive, but we really wouldn't be able to do that in real life, I don't think. So we've got no locomotives. We got gravity line left. I'm going to put another sign up here that says no locomotives. That time I spelled it right. So that's just going to be right there. And that's that little bit of a run up. I mean, you can kind of see that it goes down fairly quick. So that should be okay. So let's go down here. And we're going to put in a couple of signs down here as instructions for the brake operators. So our first one is going to be check brakes. Okay. Actually, whoops. We're going to change that to set brakes. Set brakes. And we're going to bring that right to, we're going to actually bring that out just a little ways. We don't want to stop too soon. So we're going to put that right there. And we're going to come down, right about there. And we're going to put in another sign. Stop before switch. Right there. We're going to put that right there. Actually, we're going to turn it a little bit. Whoops. And we're going to put that one there. We're going to delete that first one that we put in. There we go. That's a little bit better. And then we're going to put in a generic stop sign down here. So we're going to, oops, that's not what I wanted to do. That didn't work, did it? Okay. So we're going to come back in here. Bring in our generic stop sign. We're going to turn it. Good Lord. We're going to turn it to face the direction of travel, the typical direction of travel. I want to see if it's, yeah. Stop there. And we're immediately going to turn around. And we're going to put in another no locomotive sign. On this side. But we're going to do so back here because we don't know exactly how far back we're going to end up stopping. So we're going to put it right there. Ta-da. Okay. So that took longer than necessary, but we've got our signage put in. And we have a functioning gravity line. So let's go ahead and set all of our switches. We're going to go ahead and set that one. We're going to come up here. We're going to set that one, come up here. We're going to leave that one for now. But we're going to leave that one because we're actually going to send, we're good there, we're actually going to send our cattle train down as our test. So I'm going to go grab Clyde, and I'm going to get him fueled up and ready to run. And I will get back with you guys when the sun comes back up. Okay, so I went ahead and I cheated a little bit and just re-railed Lucky where I needed him to be. So we're going to come back over here and we're going to turn these brakes off. And we're just going to give the locomotive a nut, or not the locomotive, the train. Oh, it looks like the brakes are already off.
Yep.
Okay. So we're going to go ahead and give it a push down the hill. But instead of just booting it and letting it go and trying to catch up with it, we're actually going to give it a little bit of a nudge. I'm going to go ahead and decouple while we're still moving so that it just continues on. Yeah, I think we're okay. Check, make sure. Yep. Yep. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to stop Lucky here, or Lucky Clyde, and we're going to catch up to this train. Now it should start rolling on its own. And it is. And we're going to come down here and jump. And I missed. That's okay. We're on it nonetheless. So I'm going to open that door. Try and open that door. Come on. There we go. So let's check ahead and make sure our switches are set. Okay. Now we are going to need another locomotive once we get down there, but that's neither here nor there at this point. We are technically on the gravity line right now. This first portion of the descent, and it should be a fairly smooth run down this first hill. But we'll find out. We will find out. This is what you guys don't see when I don't record, is the testing that goes into this. So this is actually going to work. This portion of the line actually works very well. I've got this brake on 100%, and we're still cooking on down here, so we'll go ahead and let it off. And is this switch set? Yes, it is. We're going to go ahead and we're just going to let it go into this portion of the... Oh, that's nice to see. Okay. We're going to let it go into this portion of the yard, and we'll bring out another locomotive. Wait a minute. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Looks like something didn't work. It is always something. It's always something. I knew we slowed down too fast for that to have worked right. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to see what happened. I think I know what happened, but we're going to see what happened because we left most of our train up at the top of this hill. So we're going to see how that... We're going to see what happened there. Now, we would usually be coming in on the other side if we were to if we were to be running our gravity line down to here. Sounds like they're both talking to us here. So let's go ahead and just let this roll down for a little bit further, a little bit more. And we're going to go ahead and stop at the end of this loading area here so that we've got enough clearance for the locomotive. It looks like it's just going to roll to a stop on its own, so we'll go ahead and stop it there. Yeah, let's go see what happened. I think I know what happened. I think this little bit of a dog leg here is just a little bit too buried in the hill. Kind of what it seems like. So I'm going to go ahead and set this brake. And we're going to re-rail this. Bet you didn't think you'd see a derailment on a build video, did you? But there's always room to be wrong. But here. And we're going to try. We can't put it there, so we're going to move it to the middle of the or the front of the train and put it there. Now we're going to take all but that brake off. So this one should roll, and it does. Fly controls. I'm going to take this one off, and it rolls, and it does. And there's a possibility that maybe it wasn't the track. Maybe it was me. Oh, that's actually going the opposite direction. What's the deal here? Maybe it was my management of the... It may have been my management of the brakes that caused that. More than the dog leg over here that's half buried. Because that doesn't seem right. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and let this portion run down. And we're gonna ride it and follow. Or we're gonna ride it into the station there. And then we'll come back for those other ones. And we'll just connect up to them when we get there. So this is what testing's all about. I think I may have been going too fast for that little bit of a hill there, so we may need to slow that down. But that's what the testing is all about. And this is definitely a behind the scenes episode. I didn't intend for this to be anything more than a build episode, but it's most certainly a behind the scenes at this point. Yeah, see, all we had behind us was the other caboose. I thought we had more than that. I thought we had a stock car. I should have counted. Or a livestock car. But it looks like it's just going to come right down and just kiss that caboose. But we're going to ride it, and if we need to, we'll catch the brake. Just like that. Slow it down a little bit more. Just like that. Alright, so let's go get ourselves another locomotive and push this back up the hill. So, let's see. We need the speed, so we'll go ahead and grab Lucky here. Maybe he can redeem himself after he fell over on a slow curve. Okay. Let's turn the brake off of the tender here. And we'll go turn the brake off of the control car. And we'll start back up the hill. And I'll put Lucky and Clyde away off camera. but we're basically just testing out the gravity line right now. Now, as far as Lucky is concerned, I had a thought about what to do with Pete. Now, if you know Pete, if you remember, Pete is in the roundhouse here at the meat packing plant, and I was thinking maybe I could take him over to the ore mine and the smelter, and have him run the line up and down from the smelter to the ore mine. Now, since I don't get much feedback on these videos, I'm gonna go ahead and probably end up doing that, but it's gonna be a matter of testing whether or not he can handle that, or whether I need to get a stronger locomotive. Okay, so let's go ahead and put the brakes on and release the brakes on the... How did I get in here? Phase through the door, that's how. Brake on the car. Turn that off. Which one is it? Next one. Okay. Go. So we're going to come up here. Now we have an issue. With this in particular, we have an issue because our helper car here is on the wrong end of the is on the wrong end of the train. But we're not going to worry about that right now. Why are we not moving? Come on, Lucky. There we go. Sometimes you just gotta rock it. We're not going to worry about the fact that it's on the wrong end of the locomotive right now. We're just going to go ahead and detach him and stop Lucky before he gets there. And we're going to go catch up to him. Now for this, I'm actually going to not ride in the helper car. We're going to ride the box cars, or we're going to ride the... If I don't do that, we're going to ride the front car here. We're going to ride it down. And hopefully this isn't too fast. I don't think it should be, but we'll find out. And it's just a matter of managing the brakes the whole way down. So it looks like everything's going to work. I just need to make sure of my speed for the vast majority of this run. Now see, I'm slightly on the cautious side, so I tend to try to run these a little bit slower if I can. That should bring us right up to the very edge. And see, that's why I put that no locomotive sign clear back there, because I turned that on right as we got up to, or set that brake right as we got up to the check brakes sign. And you can see we're less than a full length from that stop sign. So that's perfect. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and release that brake, if I can get back up there. I'm going to go ahead and release that brake. And we're going to set the brake on the helper car. We're going to go ahead and set that brake so that it doesn't go anywhere. But that worked flipping perfectly. With the exception of the derailment, which I think was my fault. It'll take probably a little bit more testing to be sure, but I think it was my fault. With the exception of that, right about where Lucky's sitting, that turned out perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and cut here, and I'm going to put the locomotives back. I'm going to leave the train down there for now. I'll pull him up off camera, but for right now, I'm going to go ahead and cut and put the locomotives back in the respective stalls, and I will be right back. Alrighty, I am back, and that was less hassle than it needed to be. So I am rather pleased with how that worked. Now, because we don't have a telegraph office over at the smelter or at the iron mine, we're going to have to build those eventually. Now, I can't say that that's going to be taken care of in this video, but we'll see when we get there. I'm not going to try and put in a gravity line over here because that's just kind of spitting against the wind in terms of what we're trying to do, what we're trying to accomplish. It's not worth the time. So, over here at the smelter, we actually have two docks that are off center from each other. So we actually cannot connect these two docks, which is going to be kind of an issue. That's going to mean that we're going to have to build a yard. And we've only got a certain amount of space that we can put in here, or can put tracks in here. So let's go ahead and grab our low ballast and chain it in, or link it in, and link it in. That should be straight, and it is. We're going to go ahead and cut this out. We're going to leave everything else. And it looks like we may only get two cars per switching maneuver. So we're going to go ahead and put that bumper stop in because we can't go any further. And then we're going to come down here to our embankment. We're going to get the 1 meter embankment. And these act just like rails, except that they obviously have no rails. But you can link them in directly to where you've just linked in something, another piece of track or the bumper stop or something like that. You can put them in where there should be ballast but isn't. So we're going to go ahead and do that. And I think we're going to run a parallel line. It depends on where this one comes out. So let's see. We're going to come over here through the trees. And we're going to link it in right here. And we're going to come over and link it in. And that should be golden there. Now I don't know what direction we're going to come in from on that one, but it should be fairly easy to take care of. So we're actually going to straighten this up and go from there. So we want just a little bit of a hill here so that we can keep it somewhat even. Let's put it there. Yikes. Okay, so it's actually got a little bit of a curve to it. That's not too big of a deal. And we can put these in. We're still going to have to, make sure everything's right. So it's 180. Okay, there we go. Now we can put this in right here. And we can get rid of all these trees. So let's get rid of these. We're going to come down here. We're going to get rid of this one preemptively. And we're going to come over here. Whoa. We're going to cut all these out. And I think for now that'll be okay. We're going to go ahead and put another bumper stop in here. And the reason we're doing that is just for, a little bit of continuity's sake. We can put a couple of loaded cars there or unloaded cars, just whatever. So let's go ahead and put that there. And just for continuity's sake, that's going to be good enough for now. So we've got ourselves the start of a yard here. And we're going to have to come over here. Here's our output side, it looks like. Yeah. So we've got raw iron and rails. Okay. So we've got raw iron and rails. See what they look like. Raw iron and rails. Okay. That's fine with me. So, whoops, let's go back into our build mode, and real quick before the sun goes down, we're going to go ahead and connect all this in. And it looks like it's all one piece, so let's do that. We're going to connect it up just like this. Anytime we see one of those link signs on something like this, we do want to connect it in, specifically because it will not, I don't think it will register the connection if that does not happen. I think those are predetermined connection points. So as the sun goes down, we're going to go over here to the we're going to go down the hill to the iron mine, and I don't know if we're going to be there before or after it gets dark, but if it's dark when we get there, I'll just cut. Helps if I'm not in the trees. Okay, so we will be right back, and I will see you when the sun comes up. Okay, well, that was kind of stupid. I just spent about 15 minutes talking to a muted microphone. Okay. Yeah, you're going to get to see all of that in the unedited version when you guys when I finally make Patreon live. You're going to get to see that in the unedited version. So I think this is actually a good point for stopping in this video. We're not going to get all this built out in this recording. We're not going to get it all built out within the next 2 or 3 episodes. But I think what we're going to do in the next episode is we're going to connect the iron ore mine and the smelter. We're going to go ahead and build the yards for them, and we're going to get them connected up. We're going to test them out and all that good stuff. And then we're going to see what we can do about running through and connecting up our smelter to the coal mine, which is all the way at the opposite end of the map. And we're going to have the mother of all bridges, because we've got to come off right here, or fairly close to right here, and span this gap over to this mountain. Now, if we go around the back side or the front side, it really doesn't matter. But we've got to span that gap, and that's going to be a very big bridge. I mean, we're talking probably the biggest one we're going to build in this game. So we got to come around this mountain here, and we're going to end up going probably around the back side of this one over here. Old Spire Rock there. We're going to probably come around the back side of this mountain so that we can meet up with the uh, coal mine, because ultimately our goal is to actually be on the valley floor by the time that we reach this point. Because we've got two industries right here by each other. We've got the coal mine and we've got the ironworks. The iron, yeah, I think it's the ironworks. The yeah, the ironworks. So we've got these two right just about side by side with each other. So that's going to be a thing that we're going to have to take care of. So, like I said, for now, that's a pretty good stopping point. You can I'm going to go up here to the top of this mountain here and just kind of give you an idea of the distances that we're looking at. I just traveled all the way across the map, but it's still boing. Yeah, we've got to come from all the way over in that area, all the way over in that area where the crosshairs are. Clear on over to here. Clear on over to here. So we've got to go all the way across the map to connect these industries up. So this is going to be a good stopping point. I think we're going to have at least two more videos out of this. We're going to have one uh, where we're connecting the smelter and the ironwork or iron ore mine, and we're going to be building the yards for those, and they're going to have their own roundhouse because we're going to have a locomotive to service specifically them. And then the episode after that, I think we're going to go ahead and connect that small line between the iron ore mine and the smelter down to the coal mine, coming all the way across the map like I just showed you, and connecting it and the ironworks and the coal mine, connecting all that together. And we're gonna allot ourselves a way to get over to the refinery and the oil field as well. And we're gonna have another loop coming around this main mountain here, right next to the that you can see right next to the sawmill. Kind of in between the sawmill and the oil field. So that's gonna be that's going to be 2 or 3 episodes down the line is what I'm planning here. So with that, I want to I want to say thank you guys for joining me today and seeing this through, seeing this episode through to the end, because I've got some awesome news. If you guys are still interested in the progress on Patreon, I've got this. I've got the page published. It's almost ready to go. I've got 4 videos plus this one, so 5 videos total that I still need to upload to Patreon. This weekend's looking a little busy, so I'm not going to have it ready this weekend. Um, there's a potential that it could be ready right after the Thanksgiving Day holiday here in the United States. Uh, that's There's a good chance that it's going to be ready right after that. I've got a little bit more work to do um, outside of the gaming channel as part of finishing up a contract that I made earlier this year for some yard work in town. See, I live about 5 miles outside of town, but I digress. Um, I've got another contract that I've got to finish up, and then I'll probably go live with Patreon between next week and Christmas week and the week of Christmas. So it's actually ahead of schedule. I've actually managed to get far enough ahead of schedule that I can confidently say that I will have Patreon up and running within the next 3 weeks, if all goes as planned. So if you guys want to, if you guys are still interested in Patreon, if you guys are still wanting to get going with that, from the time it goes live on forward, I will be posting a link on the in the post pro in the post production. It'll be at the end of the videos like now, and if you guys want to, go on over, join it up. Prices are set, benefits are set, Discord's all set up. I don't know if any of it works. I gotta test it. Well, I know it works, but it's one of those I don't know 100%. I need other people to tell me if it works, if it doesn't work. That kind of thing. I am not that tech savvy. I'm kind of stupid when it comes to technology. I'm an old man by a lot of people's standards, even though I'm only 35. Um, so that said, everything's ready. Prices are set. Prices start at $3 for the basic tier, um, where you can get the private Discord server. You get to watch Patreon exclusive streams. So I'm going to be on Discord streaming live to you guys, specifically you guys. These will never be recorded. You get to see them as I'm playing them. It could be any game that I'm playing. I've got multiple other games. I'm not just playing Railroads Online and Bioshock. I've got multiple other games going. I've got Sims. I've got the original SCS game, the game that started it all, Hard Truck, 18 Wheels of Steel. That was the game that got me started wanting to be a truck driver, along with the movies Smokey and the Bandit and Convoy, and things like that. I That was a game that I grew up with, that made me want to be a truck driver, and for off and on for about 10 years, from the time I was 21 to the time I turned 31, I was a truck driver. So I will be, I play that every now and then. I plan to get ATS and ETS, uh, and play those in the future. So the bare bones basic tier is it starts at $3, and you get to see whatever games I decide I'm going to stream. It could be games like Above Snakes or Sim City, or um, just other weird games, old games, um, off the wall games, simulators, building games, things like that. I would be streaming those on Discords exclusively for you guys, starting at the bare bones basic lowest tier possible, and it would be exclusive. It would not be recorded. Um, the next tier up, you guys would actually be able to join into the streams and chat through voice. You'd be able to join the call, join the stream call, and actually give live feedback as the game's going on. That one is $5 per month. The next stream up is a little bit more than that. I think it's like $7, and you would get to actually play in the streams with me. You would get to be part of the streams, and I'm not talking just the Discord exclusive. I'm talking the Discord exclusive and the recorded streams. You get from that point on forward, you'd be able to join into the Discord exclusive streams and the recorded streams that I would be doing with like ATS or ETS or other games along those lines, or Railroads Online, things like that. And that's just some of the perks. I'm not saying that's going to be all the perks ever that there is. I mean, that doesn't sound like a whole lot, but it's a start, and that's where we're at with all of this. Is we're just starting out. So, it you guys can go over there and take a look for yourself when I start posting the link. And yeah, I really hope that it's worth the time and the effort that I am putting into it, because I want to give you guys the best experience possible, and I really don't know another way to do that than to offer the opportunity to um, let you guys join in on these games with me. the problem that I have is that somehow I've got to financially justify these games. So that's where Patreon comes in. I'm not asking you guys to pay for my games. I'm saying, hey, I've got to be able to justify continuing. It really helps me out. Uh, Ultimately, I want this to take over my financial burden from my parents, because right now it's kind of on an exchange program where they pay me for the work that I do. Well, that's only because I got tired of seeing everything fall apart because I had a full time job and I was the only person doing anything on top of that full time job. So it was kind of a trade off on that. But I want, because my father's approaching retirement age, I want to be able to kind of ease that off of them and kind of do this as a job, which is, why I set the Patreon up to begin with. But enough of that. I've said that in like 5 or 6 different recordings, and it's always been cut out. This time it's not going to be. Patreon is coming within the next 3 weeks. That's big news for these videos. It's coming within the next 3 weeks. Everything should be ready to go. Um, y'all are going to get to see these videos 2 days before, 2 to 3 days before they are published, because what I do is I record them, I sit on them for a few hours, 12 to 24 hours. I cut them and then I post them. So there's not a lot of downtime on them. I've got a lot to do during the week, so I don't really have a whole lot of time to record. So they everything tends to move fast with these videos. Now, you guys are going to get to see these uncut. With If you join Patreon, you're going to get to see these uncut up to 3 days before the cut version goes live. And that includes the commentary cut, the ASMR cut, and the blooper reels that may or may not ever end up being made. Okay. So you guys are going to get, if you join Patreon, you're going to get to see more than if you were just on YouTube. Now, with that, I want to say once again, thank you guys for joining me today. And if you like the content that I'm making, please give it a like, subscribe to the channel, get your friends involved, get your family involved. If they enjoy this kind of content, let them know and tell them, spread the word, check the channel out and like and subscribe. And by all means, comment. Let me know what you guys think I should be doing with the series that I'm on. Let me know how you guys play these games. Let me know how, what you guys do, because I'm always open for critiques. I'm always open for suggestions. I'm always open for uh, conversation regarding these games. I'm always looking for more information. So with that, I want to say thank you once more, and I will see you guys next time.